garage. Shadow Rider Calyrex will also run extended
Man, social media news headlines. What are you gonna do?
And can be either offensive or supportive depending on what kind of Calyrex build you're going for. Some examples of attacks to go
Man,
for
we have
40 Hyper Beam,
40
Nasty
kilograms.
and Taunt.
Two more, isn't it?
Shadow Rider
I'm an ignorant
Calyrex
American.
2.2 more.
teams with partners to aid in Calyrex dishing out big damage.
So 40 kilos times 2.2. That's damn near a 90-pound tumor, Mike.
To assist in covering Shadow Rider Calyrex 4 times weakness to dark and ghost type attacks.
Or is it the other way around?
SKWAT is another strong partner thanks to being able to set up Tailwind for Calyrex. In terms of items, Shadow Rider Calyrex thrives
What you gonna do?
But if you're worried about Calyrex,
The pre-stream doesn't go on.
you can also use a focus dash since quite a few attacks can one-hit knock out Shadow Rider
Good.
Calyrex.
Arms cut it off
It's key to
during
think about
the
Calyrex strength
just
on their respective
segment.
Man, look at
Show
that.
him.
Oh!
So
Just
crazy.
straight over. Just like not even touching the bedding. Just went full on kerplunk. Straight over.
He was like gauging it earlier. He was at
Mm-hmm.
right there. He was like trying to look over it because he wasn't sure if this was like a flat surface he can step on. Eventually he was like, fuck it, leap over the whole thing from the ground. Pretty impressive.
That's just like a full
All
on.
I'm gonna say.
Fuck box jump. Like that's box jumping like 2 times the height of your own body. Can you box jump 2 times the height of your own body?
I want to try. Box jumps.
Really?
That's something I want to try.
You're gonna box
That's something we
jump.
should. A box squat, box jumps.
I can
We'll talk
box
about
jump
box
to the height of about my waist, and that's as high as I can go.
There's, I remember seeing this one guy stack like all the plyo boxes that we had, cleared them pretty cleanly too. It wasn't like a whoa, like he like landed right on top of that last box. I was like, holy shit! So the box would have been
so let's just jump
chest
right into
height,
the bracket and take a look at the next
tall ass box.
For me, it's my box jump isn't about how far I can jump. It's when I get to the air, how fast can I pull my leg up, and then literally just like catch myself. It's like a body clean. Literally a body clean. I am cleaning my body and catching my body in a like quarter squat position when I box jump.
One of my favorite snap or whatever it was at that point when you did it was when you demonstrated the clean and press. When you went up to a bar and you literally just cleaned it.
Oh yeah, and I cleaned it.
And pressed
Yes,
it.
my 315-pound clean and press. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, that was entertaining.
yeah. Like 400 something pounds on the bar. I don't even remember. They're like, "Hey, you want to watch me clean it?" They're like, "Yeah." Rag, push. Like, yeah.
That's entertaining.
That's how it works. You know, that's exactly how it works.
Yes, we have dogs.
We didn't shoot last week. Wait, why didn't we shoot last week?
I was at the dentist.
Oh, you were at the dentist.
And I was actually at the dentist today again, and they did a shot to numb my cheek. And I was like, I wonder how. I hope I'm still numb by the time we do this podcast. So you just see like the lip, just like
You're
just having a stroke.
bit. You're just. It's like some weird Sylvester Stallone thing going on there.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
think that's
I
how he
feel
sounds
everything.
like.
No.
Or like half
There
Thor
you go.
Bjornsson, just a little bit.
That's not little. He's like, when he tries to like smile, he's like.
Well, I mean, he can only move half his fucking mouth. Like, what are you?
When did he had a stroke?
Yeah,
Was that a stroke?
I don't know idea.
Alright, I'm gonna let this dog out.
And again, strokes are kind of common. Well, if you let the dog out now, he's just gonna be barking to be let back in.
That's true. Sorry.
I mean, at some point he's gonna get bored of standing by the door, right?
Hello, viewer. Welcome to our new headquarters.
Oh my God, we
Basement.
changed placement. We went to. Oh God, we went to the basement. I need to flip my leg. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh.
Yes.
The flexibility.
See, that's something
Of a
we'll
power
talk
lifter.
about.
The-
Retro version. Excessive external rotation in your hips allows you. That's why you stand so wide when you squat.
That
Because
is
your
why my
optimal
hips
stance.
are very mobile.
Yeah. Well, at least this way. How mobile are they? This way.
Quite a bit. Well, I don't know. I sit like
Internally?
this all the time. Well, this is
That's
internal.
That's external.
Oh, you like you've seen me do the leg kicks. I can flip it up to my head.
Like people that like crazy internal rotation. I mean, I barely have any internal rotation, so I actually do stand wide too. Like this is comfortable. Like, out here, do this. You know, that's comfortable for me. Plenty of external.
I'm trying to figure out where is. Okay, so how do I test this? Like this?
You would just be seated.
Okay, seated. Okay, show me. Okay. All right, show me. I'm seated. Okay.
I mean, actually, I would do it for you.
Okay, do it for me. Okay, stay loose. Okay.
Not a lot. Not a lot, but you have like plenty this way.
Good
Look
right.
right.
at
You off there, you really don't want to risk your Charizard,
Okay.
especially in front of a Regieleki. You know, Regieleki only gets electric type attacks.
Well, I don't feel like people have a lot of.
Actually, people who have like a more of a balance, you know, where people like, oh, toes pointed out when they squat.
Does it count if I do like a dog peeing kind of thing?
No. If people have an equal amount in both directions, most people will actually squat optimally. Like
Who else has that much?
like toes out, like this. Like this is like the optimal stance for like most.
Yeah.
But for me, I gotta like crank it out a little bit, like you do too. Because we got this like super external kind
Who
of
the
thing.
fuck has? I've never met anybody who can rotate their leg this way. I mean, unless they're some
Just
sort of
enough.
contortionist.
I mean, just enough. Like this is
Well,
actually not too much.
that
Like,
kind of confuses me because like everything I do, like that my motion is trained knees out, right?
Yeah.
If you have good rotation going right that way, your squat would look kind of like fucking I don't know. Run. Oh my god. What's the name of that movie with the dude with the fucked up leg?
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, Forrest Gump. Like you got some Forrest Gump looking squat. Oh god, I feel it in my. Oh god, you're a flexor, right? Yeah.
Gluteus medius.
Oh god, that doesn't even feel right. No.
And it's just not right for your
So what's
anatomy.
the optimal squat for people who have good external rotation?
Well, good internal rotation would be feet kind of pointed more straight out. Like straight out like that.
But even then, you still have to go this way.
But for those people, they go slightly, so you do still have to rotate out, but they don't need a lot to clear that squat, so they can get pretty low because they have a same amount of rotation in both directions. So, like, if they got internal and external,
I feel like if I see somebody squatting in this way, I tell them they're wrong.
no, I mean like,
Well,
so let's say they're like balanced
Okay.
or whatever in both like internal
Yeah.
and external. So that person would still just kind of, yeah, they grab the floor, like, you know how they say,
The way normal
grab the
people
floor or
do.
whatever.
Yeah.
So they still just squat in like this direction, as long as the knees are over the toe, the third toe.
So what's the difference then? What's the?
So like for us, because we don't have enough of that internal, we can't go as low as that, like a person that can. So for us to get a
But
good
going low
parallel,
is about knocking your knees out of the way. It's about moving your leg out.
Yeah.
Out. Not.
but it's also has to do with the your
Well, yes,
femur.
I'm fat, so it doesn't really. Yeah, my
Like
gut
in the
gets in the way
socket.
of a good bend, but
Like in the socket, like there's a clearance. So like when you actually start bending,
I have a lot of
down.
clearance. This is a remarkably tiny penis.
we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. I hope somebody's tuning in and just seeing me pointing at your fucking dick and shit, and we're doing all this crazy shit. Yeah, but like for me,
This isn't even the stream yet.
yeah. Like apparently a textbook like squat stance is toes slightly pointed out, so like barely
Right.
pointed out, feet shoulder width apart, right? So like
Right, textbook squat.
Like that's as far
Yes.
as like the textbook squat is, you know, for people. And that's not too bad for me. Well, I still like to crank out a little bit. I'm actually trying like.
I mean, when you're okay, so I think it's because, I mean, what are the oldest sports, right? I mean, oldest established sport. It's going to be Olympic weightlifting, right?
Yeah.
So, and that, it's not about, it's more about your leverage to hop under a bar. So being like that gets you to be deeper, but in a more compact sort of in line, so the bar, you know, because if you go any wider, you're going to need to bend forward-ish more. So it's all about, like, right, that kinetic chain of moving the, so that's a little bit more, like, I'll watch weightlifters and they will squat with a much narrower stance.
Yeah. I mean, like Olympic weightlifters, they tend to gravitate towards a high bar.
Well, I mean,
because when they do like the
right,
cleans and stuff
exactly.
like that, more narrow stance. They have that more traditional stance. Whereas powerlifters favor the low bar, slightly wider stance squat because they're, you know.
Right, because at that point it's just leveraging, like
less range of motion.
Movement I can do.
And then exactly, right. So
but even
that's sport specific.
And there's even more to it, right? I mean, just like you're getting your feet, so because even for weightlifters, right, it's limiting the range of motion. How little can you move the bar? You're not. Olympic weightlifting is a sport of moving your body.
Right.
Below the bar, more so than it is moving the bar above your head.
Right.
It's about catching yourself in different positions.
Right. That's why Olympic
my slow ass
weightlifting
can't do it.
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of like Olympic weightlifting. Pardon the sniffles. We have a fucking cat
I
walking
am
around.
very allergic. I forgot it
dander
exists, and I
fluff
didn't bring. Yeah, this
everywhere.
is bad. This is really bad.
And 2 dogs, 2 Shiba Inus that blow coat and not shed. They fucking blow coat. Their shit's everywhere. You know, it's horrible. It's horrible. So we don't have any Benadryl or some kind of allergy shit. So yeah, we're just gonna be.
Pause it, go to Walgreens, and like get some Flonase.
No. This is how we're doing the stream. This
Oh my god.
this is going in the.
It's gonna be so bad. It's just
This
like
is the out of
at the end of the
context.
day, we just have to like timestamp every time we sniffled and just do like a sniffle compilation of squats.
There's a silent moment, and then you're just like. Man,
Wow, I have a cat, but you know, at some point your body just kind of get like you're still allergic to cats even if you have a cat.
I'm not used to
But
cats
but you
anymore.
don't get as heavy of an immune response like if it's your cat.
Yeah.
So you kind of get used to your cat, and then out of nowhere you go to a place with a different cat and just like smacks you in the eyeball. Wow, somebody's spamming us with some.
I'm trying to log in. Yeah, it seems like a copy paste here.
Can't see us from very far away.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
Let me
walk
run
up to
I'm
it.
gonna run it.
Barely tickling it.
Want to become famous? 5 followers and shit.
With his attack boost and is not taking any
Yes,
damage.
make me famous.
Even just
Make
bringing
me
it down to the point where it
famous.
can-
I'm actually rather popular in a very small and niche community that nobody really gives a fuck about.
That's all that matters. You know, like how many people really need to know you? As long as you have a. Oh my God, what is going on up there? Yeah.
Your choice of companion animals is pretty bad.
Yeah, they're great.
Are they?
Yes. Oh shit, you figured it out. Oh my
Boys!
God.
Boys! Why isn't the gate up?
Yeah, because the
I don't even like y'all. Get the fuck out of here. Leave the cat alone. The cat is much cooler than you guys.
Yes, make your way around. Good. Get the fuck out, please. Please.
There's 3 creatures in this room that I am very allergic to.
You know, so I was at the dentist, and the person in my mouth is trying to have a conversation with me. I'm like, how the fuck do you like? She's like waiting for me to respond. Bitch, you got a fucking needle in my mouth. Like, how the fuck do you want me to respond and shit? Like, I'm just like, uh-huh.
Damage here,
Uh-huh.
is unable to
I was
pick up
like,
the flinch
oh, my word.
either, as Groundhog
Just fucking fill me up, bitch. That's all you gotta do.
Taking them out of here.
Fix my cracked ass teeth in the back of my mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. 343. Should we do it at 4?
Yeah. Let's just shoot the shit for another couple of minutes. I'm sure we'll think of something to talk about.
There's always stuff to talk about. I ain't sweating it.
Why do you lick me?
Oh.
Down.
He
Oh
learned.
wow, he just gave up. Look at it.
Oh, yeah.
He just didn't even fight it. He's not fighting it. He's just like, okay. Hey. I don't like you. No, don't encourage it. Grab him by the scruff and be like, no, you don't do that. You say no.
He was in his kennel.
If somebody tries to lick you and you don't want them to lick you, just say no and then grab them by the neck and push their face into the concrete until they stop.
Grab him by the neck.
Grab them by the neck and push their face into the concrete.
Actually, I'm a fan of the lighting in here. There's a little bit. There's a hint of the natural, and then you got a little bit of that warm light. It's a nice little
Hashtag natty light.
natty light. Yeah. Where was I going with my comment? See, ADD, man.
This is something about your dentist trying to make for conversation.
No,
with a
after
needle
that.
in your mouth.
After you must have dismissed everything I just said.
I completely, yes. I do not listen to you at all, ever.
Very selective.
Yeah.
Dog was in kennel. Dog moved kennel. The whole ass kennel. Because when I got home, the kennel was like parallel to the dinner table. Like it was like wrapped around the dinner table. I was like, maybe Arlene just put him in like that in a really narrow, weird position.
Very unlikely.
Right. So I asked her, I was like, did you move the kennel? And she's like, no, what the fuck happened? And she's got the camera so she can see that shit moved. I'm like, he must have moved it. I think this cat just provokes him so much where he's like, I have to get out of this thing. So I think that's a green light. Damn, the cat just hurtled over that thing. So impressive.
I am suffering right now. I'm not gonna lie.
You're like this.
I am
This is horrible. This is the challenge right here. This is hard mode. This is expert mode.
This is like playing Halo on Legendary.
You have to concoct all your thoughts and somehow carry conversation.
This is so rough, man. This is gonna hurt.
Without.
Oh, seriously, wait. We should really just pause and go to Walgreens.
Oh, it's not that serious, man.
It is to me, you fuck.
I got the same issue. I'm sitting here. I'm fine.
Ah! Oh my god.
That's alright. We'll make it. Like 30 minutes, we'll talk about the squats.
I can talk about the squat for like 5 hours. You don't understand.
We'll cut it down.
This is my favorite lift.
All right, we'll do
I don't know. Is deadlift my favorite? I don't even know what it is. What is my favorite lift anymore?
It might be the axle bar. Axle bar press.
No, not. I like doing it though. It is fun. It's a fun movement.
Sorry, dog.
God, can you imagine listening to a podcast and just every 10 seconds it's like, I'm not even talking about my discomfort shooting this. I'm talking about the fucking listener just like.
Yeah, and so this is why a lot of players.
Because I'm in the mode that we're live on like a video.
I'm in the mode and
I'm
we're
like,
live
whatever,
and we're in the video.
But it's like, if you think about the people that listen to this shit right after, you're right there in their car and shit.
It's like
they're like, just like through their bass right now. They're not hearing this part, but there'll probably be some sniffles. Through the
it's getting into my eyes, like it's getting into my eyes right now. They're getting itchy.
Like I can't breathe through my nose anymore. I gotta go.
You're just gonna mouth breathe.
I gotta mouth breathe on this shit.
It's like oh god, it's like Kyle's cousin in South Park.
That's That's what needs to happen for the next hour or so. Is
just like heavy mouth breathing.
there was a perfect or I guess when I just gotta go. Like I'm covering a cough.
Oh my God! What was it? Chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain.
Just like I move my face around the away from the mic to breathe. I move my face away from the mic to sniffle. Oh God.
That was a meme I saw where it was like a gaming headset, but on the gaming headset it was a nose that had the headset on and a fan that had the headset on itself, because all you hear through most games are and a whirring fan in the background. And it was funny, but I need to find it. I will find.
There is that weather ball, and it does a sizable amount. Francesco's Venusaur did go for
Scroll.
the
Memes. Legs. Memes. Pictures, lights.
Well, in other news, I have I'm back in the building at work. Right, I'm a teacher, and I'm still taking my lunchtime walks. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but now my lunchtime walks are around the neighborhood where my school is in, and it's a bougie ass fucking neighborhood. You know, it is definitely one of the better well-off neighborhoods in Chicago. Granted, I mean, whatever. It's just so weird. I'm walking through these neighborhoods where the houses are like $1.5 million, $2 million a pop. Oh yeah.
I'm satisfied with my little house. Like I always think about like what I would be doing with so much real estate. Like even if I had like one kid,
Nothing.
I'm like, what am I gonna fill these rooms with? Like, why do I need all that room?
And how the fuck are you gonna clean a house that big? Like,
Exactly. I'm like, this is sometimes a chore to like clean, but like I can't imagine having like 3 other rooms even.
Right, like
to
all these
clean.
motherfuckers who have, it's just them and like their one kid, and they live in a fucking five bedroom, 3 bathroom. Like, what the fuck are the other 3 bedrooms for?
Well, one is my personal office, one is a guest room, one is just in case we have a second kid.
It's like these fucking degenerates that rent out these mansions.
It's not. It's so bad. Yeah.
that rent out these influencer types or whatever, or no, they'll literally rent out a mansion. They make a YouTube series and they're like, okay, so we live in this mansion and there's like 12 different bathrooms, but we only use one. Like, so obnoxious, kitty.
Do the jump. Do the jump.
Just jump.
Do the jump. I
Jump.
want to see it. Jump. Do the jump.
Jump.
Do the jump.
Jump.
Do the jump. Like a fucking gazelle jumping over a lion in the Serengeti. Let's go.
Do it.
Do it. Make the hop. You fat fuck. I've seen you do it. Oh yeah.
I feel like in his eyes he's like analyzing.
Yes.
Like what's that game? Like
doing a complex geometric ballistic calculation.
in the game Fallout, when you go into this like slow motion and you have to like you can target like multiple enemies and then you pull the trigger and it just shoots everybody at once. I feel like that's what he does. I gotta jump from this point to this point, this point. All right, download complete. And then just does this thing.
I think it's like that meme with the woman with like all the like math stuff in the face, and it's just like, ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Regieleki, when you're bringing out into a matchup like this, the goal is really to lower your opponent's speed with Electro Web. But the reality is that, you know, Groudon doesn't really...
Oh god, and I can't imagine the circulation here is any good either. So it's not, so like everything just stays and
I mean, we're like under some vents. I could crack open a window. I don't know if that makes it any
so
better.
now my tree allergies can mix in with my cat allergies.
We want to see how your immune
just
system
like-
handles that shit.
Oh my fucking god, dude.
And in the end, that
Hello.
between the Venusaurs losing that basically just instantly
Hello,
sealed the
welcome.
game. So yeah, definitely
Doji.
fun to watch between both players, and we knew one of the Sun teams were gonna move on into the tournament. tournament, so move on onto a tournament. So excited to see
Oh my
Yoav
God,
can,
so funny.
keep his losers run alive right now.
Why are you smelling my
I'd like to
knee?
circle back to the first turn. That Reggie Lucky actually missed that electro web.
Knees.
What is your
Resort.
problem? I
That
swear to
very
God, if you
first
bite my
turn,
knee,
and
I am
that
going
actually
to
would've made all
fucking
the
smack
difference.
you
I
with
know it
the
wasn't
leg.
really highlighted too much in that moment, but that ended up. I mean, if that had hit, that would have been an extremely different outcome for that game there.
What?
Exactly, yeah, and then it also forces you.
Yeah,
Yoav
so I saw
to be in
Mortal
your position where it's
Kombat.
like, okay, now I don't
And it
wanna deal with
was
the Venusaur,
everything I
in
wanted
the
it to be.
ending from the
You know, it
opponent's
could have
side,
been
and
longer.
then the switch, so
Certain
it's a really
characters
good
could have been
call-out.
fleshed
I mean,
out, but
we were just talking
the
about how
essence
didn't seem
of
to
Mortal
very much,
Kombat
hitting
was
that at
there.
least changes how
The
Yoav has to approach the
fatalities.
early game. Another big thing is the first
The
two
special
frames of that game were
moves,
so volatile.
the
You missed that sleep
the
powder on
weird
turn one
shit,
on Yoav's end. That Charizard
the
just does so much
catchphrases.
damage with Heat Wave,
They're
and it
essentially, I
creates
felt
such
like,
a monumental
oh yeah,
damage.
do the thing, do the thing, do the, say the thing, say the thing, and they said the thing, and they did the thing, and it was great.
I feel like that's me when Star Trek Picard came out. I was like, say make it so, say make it so, say make it so, make it so. Yes!
Point, make it so, yeah.
Yes!
See, we fucking these simpletons just
Yes,
sit
he's
and
so
watch
much. It's like,
these
what do we
fucking.
need?
That's all we need. Just do say the thing. Fuck the plot. I don't care about the plot.
Say the thing.
Just say the fucking thing. Just a montage of that.
Yes.
Just do that. Just do that for like a whole hour. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. It was
What
good.
time is it? Oh, we got 6 minutes left.
To the bracket though. To look
1, 2, skip to my loo. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks.
Why would you skip to the loo?
Quarter-finals here
I don't know.
between Gabriel Agati versus Alberto Daza here, which were two players we got to feature yesterday as well.
Yeah, really excited for this match.
That's in stereo.
Oh, God.
I hope somebody has that, like a subwoofer, like 220-inch subwoofers, and they have to hear the reverberation of that. It's like every time we inhale through our noses.
If we find a good enough like music producer, I'm sure he can sample it and be like, brr, ba, ba, da, da, da. Bray, brr, ba, da, da, da.
Eyes. Oh my eyes.
Well, if you rub them, the cat just gets into your eyeball deeper.
I'm making sure.
Wow,
I'm just-
dude, you're fucking bloodshot, actually. Yeah, dude, this is not gonna work, man.
This will be fine.
We're
this,
gonna
this is
go
fine.
to walk.
Everything's burning right now. This is fine.
Fine. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I actually had to
I'm
pick,
good.
you know,
No, I'm good. It's all your fault.
Don't blame the cat.
It's
The
the
cat is
fucking
innocent.
the-
Blame your brother.
Fucking you.
Cats can be. That's the nice thing about having a cat. If you leave it alone, it's fine. I left my cat at home alone for like 3 or 4 days, completely unsupervised. You know what happened? She was annoyed I came back.
It's you.
They're happy enough. Just give them a bowl of food, some water, they'll be fine.
That's true.
They don't need you.
I just need more circulation. I guess.
Yeah, dude, this is just not gonna work well today.
It's gonna be perfect. It's
It's
gonna be a perfect disaster. That's. It's. I can't wait to see the view count on this shit. It's gonna be like, skipping this episode.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a shame. This is such an important topic.
Just hold in. Just hang on. Just listen to the fucking sniffles.
Can we just like go to the garage and do this in the garage on our phone or something?
No, we're.
God damn it.
Fuck, how would that even sound? Probably sound like shit.
Well, it would sound better than.
I don't know if it would, honestly. I think I'd rather hear the
Really?
detailed.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think so. I think it's,
Oh my god.
I
I'm
think it's
actually-
better. Oh, thank God I didn't let that motherfucker out. No, stop doing that. Oh yes. Yeah, this flavor is good.
I feel like I want to go to my car and get my vape just to like coat all my sinuses in some sort of vegetable glycerin.
I like this one. I'm a fan of this.
Or like go
Not you again.
pick up a pack of cigarettes and just like
Let's just
like
pick up
mull it
smoking
over
for a-
with like tar, you know, just here you go, cancer. Just like
My lord.
Sir, why did you get lung cancer? I wanted the cat allergies to stop.
Yeah, now you have a whole new problem.
Fuck.
Fuck.
What do you mean lungs? Can't you just give me a lung transplant? Sir, that's not how, it's not a kidney. That's not how it works.
What are you eating?
I don't know.
Come here.
Yeah, that slow start ability, I mean, it's so powerful shut off, but...
Whatever he's eating, he's probably going to spit it out.
...is left useless out on the field here. Whimsicott going for that sunny day.
He's eating a toy baby.
Whatever. Eat whatever the fuck you want.
Go ahead and choke on it. If you die, sucks.
Bury you in the back.
Under shovel. We're just gonna throw you on the ground, leave a sign like for carrion.
I'll throw him under a fucking deck. What's that smell? I don't know.
Where's Strunks? I haven't seen him all day. No, he's under the deck. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cat killed him.
Yeah, I mean,
Cat got to
exactly
him.
how you want to go up against Reggie Giga
It just kind of happened, you know.
Uh,
Schlally-loo, looby-doo, 359. I'm making words up. Killing some time. Yes.
I totally
Is that
forgot
my
about
beard?
the cat.
I haven't made a beard progress picture.
Beard ASMR.
Yeah, I need to see what's the length now.
I was hanging out with my friend and she braided it for me, and it's just a little uneven, so like this didn't really braid it.
I need to like trim a few of these flyaways.
Really, really good start for Gabriel.
Yeah, maybe I'll. Oh yes, yes! It's 4 o'clock. Here's the sniff cast.
Hit the intro, just
The
hit the intro
The
button.
sniff cast.
I don't even give a fuck anymore.
Alright.
Hit the intro button.
Hold on.
Do you remember how to hit the intro button?
Here we go. Here we go. I can do it from all the way over here. Yes.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Swing, swing, swing.
Too much pressure on it. That Urshifu will go for the sucker punch. He's going to chip into that Charizard here.
Alright. Bros and brolettes.
Vikings and Valkyries.
Welcome to the Iron Theory allergy-laden sniff cast.
The sniff cast. We'll try to keep it to a minimum. We have a cat in the house, temporarily, and 2 dogs. And it's the problem now. It's the problem, so you're going to have to listen to us sniff a few times. 3 times, a couple times. It's gonna be
a lot of times.
A lot of times.
I'm gonna try to.
We're gonna try to break away from.
I'm gonna try to chocolate rain it and just like fuck off.
Just try to go away from the.
Oh God, it's getting worse, Chris. It's getting worse.
Hi. Okay. Hi. I don't. What came after that?
I'm Chris.
I'm Arthur. Oh, you're telling me to say my name.
I'm telling you to say your name.
Okay.
It's a podcast about fitness, life, and everything in between.
Yes. It's
my God.
Sniff cast.
The sniff cast.
We're trying to gather our thoughts. We're on the expert mode of podcasting right now. We went to the select screen before we did the episode. We said, fuck the easy mode. We're going to throw allergies into the mix. We're going to throw congestion. We're going to be fucking anxious with our fucking caffeine.
Dude, I am literally shaking. I am shaking. There's the dog scratching the door.
There's too much going on.
This is a Zen fountain, and I am not Zen. I have no chill.
Somebody shoot that dog.
Would you shut the fuck up?
Okay. I think
I got
it.
No! There he is! He's gonna scratch his way into the outdoors.
I don't care. We're ranting for an hour. If you thought you were gonna listen to squats, you got fucking catfish. We're ranting for a.
We're ranting for an entire hour. You know what bothers me?
What's that?
Electronics that have a red light, like when they're turned. You know what? Every single television has this. Every single device, from cable boxes to TVs, there is a light that shines when the fucking device is off.
Yeah, I was always wondering. I mean, I don't know how infrared specifically works on a TV. Is that the technology they use to turn a TV on? I don't know.
It doesn't. No. Okay. Listen. Let me explain to you.
But why is it on if the TV's off?
Number one, if it's IR, you can't fucking see it.
Right. Yeah,
Okay. So why who would give a shit? Okay.
Right.
Number one. Number two. The point of a screen, of a television, is to shine light. That's what tells you it is on. I don't need a light reminding me that it's off. If there is no light, that means it's off. If there is a light, that means it's on. What the fuck is the light for? I don't need a red dot telling me I have a TV there. I know the TV's there. I paid $1,000 fucking dollars for this thing. I don't suddenly forget it's gone. I'm an insomniac. I don't
Was
sniff.
that the period at the end of your
Sniff. Period.
sentence?
Sniff. I don't need, especially at night when there is no light, because I'm an insomniac. I have light removing everything. It's dark as shit in my room. You wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to piss because we're old enough where our prostate makes us do that now. And there's like the fucking glaring eye of Sauron fucking beaming the light of 1,000,000 suns into your eyeball the moment you wake up. You're off. You're a TV. When you're off, there should be no light. The fuck is that dot for?
What an epic rant. That was perfect. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody tell us, if you're listening to this after the stream, tell us what the fuck that light's for. Why is it on? Even though the TV's off, somebody tell us. Somebody's smart.
Squats. Let's talk about squats. Let's actually get to
you love
squats.
the
For
squats.
goddamn it, I need to talk about squats.
Let's talk
This is one of
about
my favorite
squats.
things. We need to squat.
Why do we gotta squat? I think we could start with the why, or maybe no, we should start with the what. What is a squat? I guess it sounds basic. I'm sure everybody's heard it at this point. You know, whoever's listening to this, they're like, "Oh, duh, it's a squat." But you know, what is a squat? What's our definition of a squat?
There are a couple of basic fundamental movements of the human body. There is the pull, there is the push, there is the bend, there is the squat, and there is the gait, which is walking, moving one leg in front of the other.
Gait, yeet, yep.
Yep. Those are your basic fundamental movements. The squat is one of those movements.
Yes. Yeah, so imagine taking a shit in the wilderness. You'd have to squat. If you can't fucking squat, you can't shit right. It won't come out of your asshole right. That's why you gotta squat. That's why I wrote Primal, by the way.
Oh, is that why you wrote Primal?
If you're in the fucking wilderness, if your ancestors are in the wilderness, they have to take a shit, they have to pop a squat, right? That's why.
You know, I've shat in the wilderness a few times in my times backpacking
What,
and camping.
are you going to tell me you're standing up taking a shit? Are you going to tell me you're like...
I'm like standing there in a power lift squat taking a shit.
It's just like falling out like... What animal does that? Oh, like a horse. Like you stand there like a fucking horse.
Yeah, I always hike with a butt plug. So anytime I need to, it just falls out like a ball. It's just like...
I like where this is going. I like where this is going. Yeah, you thought you were gonna get some educational shit. You fucking thought wrong. You thought wrong. We're gonna talk about taking a shit
in the woods.
In the woods.
Because apparently that's the only reason we can think of for squatting is because
like
our ancestors shat in the woods.
You need to shit. You need to squat to shit. All right?
No, most of the time when I shit, I sit.
But that's a squat.
That's a sit.
That's a squat.
It's a sit.
The optimal. That's a fucking squat, man. Like you know the squatty potty where it like puts your feet in this optimal
fucking
position.
Hate the squatty potty
because it like opens up your taint
or
do
whatever. shit.
And it like clears your track because of the way your intestines or whatever and the shit kind of falls out.
That's all bullshit.
I think there's
not
something
how it works.
No, it's not.
I've been alive for 29 years and I've never needed to shit with the assistance of a squatty potty.
You mean you don't shit like this, like
Are you been trying to tell me that all my life I've been shitting wrong?
I think so.
I don't think so.
So the next question is,
You know how I know I've been shitting right is because I own a bidet.
why do you take a shit?
Why do you?
Take-
Because your
You
metabolism.
gotta catch your shit.
You gotta catch your shit.
You gotta catch your shit.
You gotta catch your shit.
So, anyways. Anyways.
Oh my god.
So, yes. So it's a very basic thing we do.
Okay, what is a squat? I have a question for you because everybody listening knows basically what a squat is. Is a lunge a type of squat or is a lunge a type of walk?
A lunge, I would say, is a type of walk.
I agree completely. A squat has to be both legs moving at the same time.
Which would you, if you're in a staggered stance and both legs are moving, the split squat, would you consider that a squat?
Of course.
Like if
Oh,
I'm
like a Bulgarian split squat
Exactly,
thing?
yeah.
Okay,
So if I'm like that, but my legs are not moving.
no, that's a lunge. That's a lunge.
I would say that's a squat.
No.
Yeah, because a lunge is the act of like actually throwing that next foot forward and then back, like a walk. So,
No,
I mean, why else
it's
would they
like
call it a split squat? Or a Bulgarian squat, like
Or
it's
like a
squat.
fucking pistol squat. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
it's
don't
a
want to
single
call
leg.
that. I don't want to call that a squat.
But it is a squat.
But it's
It is
not.
it is a
A
squat.
squat requires both legs moving symmetrically.
Obviously,
That
they
to me-
are.
In a pistol squat,
Yeah, they're moving at the same time, but in
what
in
leg?
a different
In a
way.
pistol squat, it's one leg.
All right, well, it's still a squat.
No. It is not a squat. A true squat is both legs on the ground moving symmetrically.
Well, it's a type of squat.
Oh, bullshit. It's a fucking. Oh,
Why
no,
else would
it's
it be
not.
called a squat?
Because we lack imagination.
Oh, I guess that's what it is.
Okay, if you're gonna say that a squat and a lunge are different movements,
Well,
then
lunge,
a Bulgarian split squat is a type of lunge, not a type of squat.
Well, they would call
Just
it the
because you
Bulgarian
call it-
split lunge.
But that fucking sounds stupid.
no.
Who would do it? Okay, go. No. Show me a lunge. Get up right
Okay,
now.
yeah,
Show me a
yeah.
lunge. We're gonna do this. Show me a lunge. Do me a lunge. Okay, now get up. Stop. Show me a Bulgarian split squat.
Yeah, and so that definitely changes kind of how.
How is it not the same fucking thing?
It's not.
It is! You put one leg forward and you went down! The only difference is this time the leg, instead of being behind you, is on a fucking thing!
But it's static, it's not moving.
It's a type of lunge, not a type of squat!
I'm retrieving back to the same position. I'm not
Yes,
doing
you can
anything
do that
else.
with a lunge too, so what the fuck? Hi, kitty.
Kitty.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
this is animated.
So if I do... No, this is a fucking lunge, not a fucking squat!
It's a split squat.
No, it's a
Like-
type of lunge!
I define it as a lunge is, yeah, like you said, it's a walk because you're moving one foot in front of the other and it's a consistent,
Okay,
like...
if a Bulgarian split squat is a squat, then a lunge is also a squat.
No,
Yes.
because it's different. It's clearly different.
No, it's fucking not!
We just described the two, where the lunge,
It's the same movement!
you go from a standing position to a lunge position, so you bring that leg forward, and then you're retreating back into a standing position, or you
So
keep
what do you do?
putting
So
that
what are you
next
doing?
leg
Okay.
after.
So in a Bulgarian split squat, you're retreating back to a standing position.
But you're not, because you're still in that same kind of like staggered stance. So your stance is different, but you, essentially, just like the squat, you're using two legs and you're retreating back to that same position. So when you're in a staggered stance, yes,
No. A squat is two legs moving simultaneously.
that's literally what's happening.
You have one leg moving!
But the other, if you didn't have if I didn't have the second leg, you would not be able to do that other thing. Like you need both legs to move. You need this knee to bend as much as this knee needs to bend, and you're hinging at the hip on this side as much as you're doing something in your hip right here. So
But
it's a
that's not
fucking
the
squat.
mover!
It's a fucking squat.
A Bulgarian split squat is just a poverty way to do a single leg press. When
Yeah,
you're
I knew this was where it was going.
When you're a poor kid in
I knew this was where it
Bulgaria,
was going.
when you're a poor kid in Bulgaria
Why-
who can't
why-
afford a leg press, you do a Bulgarian split squat because you're too fucking poverty to afford a goddamn leg press.
We'll get
it's a
to-
poor man's leg press.
We'll get to the single leg shit and why that's important. 'cause
No,
I got shit to say.
no,
say
I
about
am not
that.
done with this discussion yet.
I know you're not. We can get back to that because it's gonna come up again. Because like the types of squats is what we're gonna talk about at some point. But all right, why squat? Or what are we still talking about? What is a squat?
We're never gonna agree on that. Why squat? Why squat? Because a real bro won't ask you how much you bench. A real bro will ask you how much you squat. And if that number isn't at least 315, you're a puss.
Oh man.
You're a puss.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're talking about why squatting, right? Okay. I mean, everybody needs to squat in some way. Are you telling me you're gonna have Grandma Josephine fucking put 315 on her back if she has some kind of disc issue on her back? Is that what you would do?
No, because her back's a puss. And that's okay. It's what I'm trying to tell you.
Grandma
If
Josephine,
you're
stop
not
being
squat-
a puss.
It's not Grandma Josephine's fault her fucking herniated disc disqualifies her from being jacked as fuck.
What is that?
I don't know, I let him outside.
No, he's somewhere here. I don't know.
Gabriel contemplating a
Hopped.
switch here.
This is so bad.
No, I love the squat. The squat is important. It's a big compound movement. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think everybody should squat in some capacity. I'm saying that it doesn't have to be a barbell squat, as you're implying, but everybody should squat in some way because yeah.
I mean, to a certain degree, right? Okay, so let's like cut the bullshit out and put it into it.
Yeah.
It is a very important movement, right? And I don't mean just because it's tested in like virtually every single strength sport, but because it improves knee health and mobility, right?
Yes.
It to prevent as far as a preventative thing, to prevent bone mass loss, to increase strength, flexibility in your ankle, knees, hips. It's a squat. It improves your core stability, right? Overall,
Big core movement, yeah.
yeah, consistently squatting reduces pain in the long run because you're strengthening all the things that our daily lifestyle of being relatively sedentary and sitting otherwise causes.
Exactly, and some people might be like, well, I'm squatting because I'm sitting, but you're not. You know, the way most people will like, you see how I'm like sitting right now. Like, this is not an optimal squatting position, obviously. So yeah, people sit, but when we sit, and the definition of us sitting is we're relaxing. In a squat, you're tensed up in all the look the cat in all the correct areas. So in your core specifically, and then you're hinging at your hips, and everything's moving like a lever all at once. Your chest, your hips are coming down at the same time, and then you lock out, and you're in this position. So there's a lot of moving parts within the squat, and yeah, everybody should squat in some capacity.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't like hearing is like, oh, it's a lower body movement. It's for the legs. No, it's if you're doing it correctly, at least in powerlifting, a squat, you need a developed back, especially if you're low bar squatting. You need those delts to be really tight, so you're pulling it into you. You're going to need lat strength. You need core strength. You need lower back strength. You need upper back strength, because upper back rounding is a huge issue in the squat just as much as it is in the deadlift. You think about where the weight is.
Right.
So it is a full body test of strength. It's not just for the legs.
Right, exactly. It is very much, I would always classify it as a total body movement rather than a leg movement. Despite, a lot of people will put a squat of some sort, barbell, whatever, goblet, in their training programs on a lower body day, because I guess the big movers are your legs, right? But yeah, core engagement, all your stabilizers, especially you mentioned the rounded shoulder thing. So big postural kind of a thing. If somebody has really rounded shoulders and they try to put their hands on that bar and they try to get real close, it's kind of hard for that person. So that's where you can step by step help their mobility in their upper back, you know, and then just keep going back to that barbell squat. Maybe change your hand stance. They got safety bars now where you can have your hands a little forward or whatever if you have that problem in the meantime. But yeah, it's a very, very important movement. I found the cat. Yeah. So why squat? So testosterone support, exercise in general, so big compound movements require your body to work more, right? So you're working more muscles at a given point. So hormones are then, you know, used to then recover because you're using all these muscle groups in one given moment, right? So during that squat, so yeah, if you want to build muscle, best bang for your buck is that squat.
Compound movements are always going to be the best, and I want to add on to that, like, what are your hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers. They're signals. Testosterone is just one of those hormone signals, one of those messenger signals. Amongst the things it does is it attaches to your androgen receptors, and it literally, of the things it tells you to do is it tells you to build more muscle, or to recover muscle tissue, to build muscle tissue. That's one of the signals, depending on where in the cell it attaches to, is to build muscle tissue. So the more and more you damage your muscle tissue, the more adapt your body becomes to accepting the signals of testosterone.
That was about to be a fucking tongue twister there.
Yeah, it is a tongue twister.
Better circulation, I would say, just because, again, multiple moving parts. So you're going to have better circulation. You're just using more of your body to move.
But that is more of a long term. Yeah. Right? Because, I mean, if you think about how it works, right, the vascularity that we get, it builds over time, right? It's not like you start lifting and the next day all your blood vessels are going to be, popping out of your skin like mine are. It takes time, but over time, that increased blood flow, that constant need for nutrients to your muscles, you develop size and flexibility in your blood vessels, which, again, long-term cardiovascular health, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. An important thing, for long-term health benefits. Having better circulation, a strong heart is going to benefit you. Sorry, I'm gassy. This drink is so carbonated right now, and allergies, man, I'm fucked up.
I told you we should have gone to Walgreens and got ourselves.
This is perfect.
Flonase, man.
Yeah, break away from the seriousness. So that's the
Even
why.
Your dog is sneezing. Your dog's allergic to the cat. My God, Jesus fucking Christ.
That's pretty incredible. So that's the why. Now how to squat.
Why squat? Also because it's tested in powerlifting, strongman, Olympic lifting, CrossFit. Virtually every strength sport you can imagine has some variation of a squat that is tested somehow.
So just building overall strength, I would argue that the squat is king of all exercises. What would you say?
You will get absolutely no disagreement from me.
Yeah.
Well, I might start arguing that the deadlift might be the king of all exercises.
Yeah.
Just because when I'm thinking about X number of muscles engaged, the deadlift does engage more muscles than the squat.
I mean, I'd say it's almost an equal amount, I feel. Because, depending on how you're squatting, because that's another thing that we'll get into.
Right.
Somebody who's ass to grass, they're getting a lot more of that hamstring and glute in there.
Right, but I'm talking about, forearm, shoulder, trap, back, deadlift.
Sure.
Deadlift is an all-encompassing everything sort of lift.
So is the squat, because you're also getting, a lot of that core, lower back.
Oh my God, I can't do it.
It's an axial loaded exercise, like the barbell squat at least,
right,
is an axial loaded exercise. So yeah, you're gonna get a lot of that shit you're gonna feel from a deadlift as well. The compression and all that lower back goodness.
And what I should say, and I think this is where we need to make a caveat. Yes, squatting is extraordinarily good for you, right? If you're doing it correctly, you should not be feeling pain. You should not be having pressure on your knees.
Right.
But let's be fair, there does come a point where a squat, when you're in strength competition, there does come a point where is there any actual useful value to squatting 3 times your body weight? No. At that point, it actually does. You are putting yourself at risk. You're putting a lot of pressure on tendons. At that point, you may, depending on how fast you got there to let your like bone mass and density build up, you could potentially be doing a little bit of damage to your knees. You are putting your spine under a pretty big compressive load. So squatting is great. Squatting is beneficial, but you know, I don't want to be out there saying like, oh, this dude squats 600 pounds. That doesn't necessarily mean what they're doing is particularly healthy. But at that point, it's a competition. It's a sport, right?
Exactly.
Those are 2 separate discussions.
So exactly, because that's exactly your perspective as a strength athlete, as like a power lifter. Is all that. Those are all concerns that, you know, somebody who is doing like that kind of a strength training, because strength training is very broad. Like you know, strength training is many things. When people, you know, depending who you ask, strength training can be very broad. But from a powerlifting standpoint specifically, or I wouldn't even say Olympic weightlifting. I don't think they try to push these crazy heavy numbers, because I don't believe they use a lot of the specifically the suits that you'll see in like powerlifting, right?
God, no.
Because that is what I feel is dangerous as far as like pushing way past, you know, human capability, I feel.
Well, many Olympic weightlifters, like, for them it's mobility, right? So anything that limits mobility, which is essentially what a suit does, is like this stops your body from moving, and the only thing that'll move it is, well, what will move the suit, which is the really heavy weight. Many Olympic weightlifters won't even use a belt because it limits their movement too much. But Olympic weightlifters will overload train their squat. So like if they're training, you know, for a clean and jerk, they are going to train front squats at a weight much higher than what they actually like end up cleaning.
But even that needs context, because I mean, like, I'm talking like people who are almost pushing like 1,000 pounds on a squat or something like that. You know, that's like, you know, crazy numbers. You know, Olympic weightlifters, sure, they're in the 500, 600, 700s maybe, but I would say somewhere around there. You know, still a heavy weight, man. Like for majority of lifters, that's really heavy still. You know. So yeah, and I guess from there, how do we squat? Like, so there's so many. I mean, as a general rule, the squat itself is a hip hinge. So you know, how do you squat? Depending on your anatomy, because what we were doing before the actual episode started was, I was demonstrating how, depending on your anatomy and your hip and your joint socket and how that moves within your hip joint, your stance might be different than the next 5 people. So depending if you have more external rotation, more excessive external rotation in a seated or a prone position, you might have retroversion or anteversion. So anteversion having more excessive internal rotation, retroversion is having more excessive external rotation. So both me and Arthur have a bit more of that external rotation, so we stand a bit wider in our specific squats. But somebody who might be listening, you know, you can test this by sitting in a chair, have somebody else try to rotate your femur within your hip socket, and then see how much one way, and internal, and then the external, and then that can kind of determine how far you should be standing as far as your feet, because the squat starts at the foot, I would say. If you have a stable foot, you can have a good squat, because it's a chain of movement, right?
Yeah. When I when I ever train the squat, when I teach people how to squat, the way I because you know, there's the textbook squat that we talked about, which is shoulder width apart, toes slightly out, and that's fine. But an easy way to like guesstimate what someone's almost ideal squat position will be is I ask them to jump in a couple of different ways, and however you jump, wherever you feel the safest, wherever you feel the most powerful, wherever you feel you jump the highest from, that's your starting position. Now, sure, later, you know, a year or two on, when they become much more adept at squatting, you can start tweaking little things like, hey, based on this and blah, blah, blah. But from a start, for me, the easiest way to start, to get somebody, to teach them how to squat, it's, all right, let's start with where do you feel most comfortable jumping from?
And I think that actually proves my point as far as, like, instead of just having the microscope under it, but just having them just do their natural, you know, adjustment to, you know, how they would optimally jump. Because I feel like in your mind you're like, all right, I need to jump and I need to jump high, so you're gonna jump in a way that's gonna allow you to do that, to have you have enough of that range of motion to get really high.
Yeah.
So I think that also that's something I also do. So, you know, if I just want to point something out a bit more, I'll do it the way I was saying. But for just being already at the rack, I'm like, all right, let's figure out how to squat. I'll just have them jump up once or twice, and that'll give them a pretty good idea. So yeah, definitely that's a good way to do that. Faux show.
Now, we do squat in extremely different ways.
Yeah.
You and I. Well, I mean, we both tend to go a little bit wider and all of that stuff,
Yep.
but
Foot stance.
I do favor the low bar squat with a relatively... I don't sumo squat. It's very rare that you actually see a sumo squat in powerlifting unless you're doing equipped lifting with the suit. That's really when you start seeing the sumo squat. I can sumo squat, like I have the hip mobility for it, but I don't feel comfortable sumo squatting. I also don't feel comfortable sumo deadlifting, but whatever. I do prefer a slightly wider stance. My toes are way out.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that, because I have very poor ankle mobility for nothing I can control. It's not like I can stretch a fucking tumor out of the way.
Right. I mean, that's a factor for sure.
So I don't want to call it my crutch, but my fallback is, over time I've developed really, really good external rotation and really good hip mobility.
Right.
Which is actually something I've never struggled with hip mobility ever. Like I sit Indian style all the time. My knee mobility, my hip mobility is really good.
I think that's essentially what trained you to kind of keep your hips open like that, is because I mean, if you're doing that shit from a kid, like that, you just carry with that.
Exactly. So but more recently, I've been training high bar squat the last month and a half ish, because earlier last year I injured my left elbow. It was probably from a pressing motion that I just too heavy, whatever. So I injured it. So I was putting so I just kind of stopped. But I kept low bar squatting. And then when my elbow felt a little bit better, especially the last couple of months, right, I've been really working on my push motions. My press motions have always lagged behind my legs. I am very leg dominant, but I've been really wanting to get my bench press, my overhead press, my log bar up, and they have been going up. But as a result, my left elbow that was injured, I then ended up hurting my right elbow because it was taking the brunt of the weight.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, it's time to just give my elbows a little bit of a break. So I started high bar squatting.
And I mean, high bar squats were the natural tendency, at least when we're talking about barbell squats specifically, because as we're talking, as far as our own personal preferences on how we do the squat, high bar squats are my go-to. That's just how I've always squatted. That's how I feel most comfortable squatting. Because being in a low bar squat, I don't think it's that I cannot do that, but I just prefer to high bar squat. It's a comfortable position for me. And those are the two variations that you'll most see when you're doing a back squat with a barbell. Now, you also have variations like the front squat, which also can vary as far as like position, but the idea is still the same. It's a front-loaded squat. There's a lot more requirement from your trunk, your abdominal area. You have to be more upright. than the back squat. And I think as far as the front squats are concerned, I would say the goblet squat is a good beginner's understanding of the squat, because a lot of people, when they try to do a squat, especially if they have really just poor core stability, my go-to will typically be some kind of dumbbell goblet squat, so they understand how to kind of position themselves and they get that engagement in their core pretty immediately, because now they're kind of forced to be a bit more upright than they might have been used to. Because like a lot of people have this weird this fear that they tell me, oh, I don't want to fall forward. I never barbell squat because I feel like I'm going to fall back or whatever, or fall forward. But, you know, I'll have them do the goblet squat and then transition to a barbell squat. Did I say goblet? I said goblet, right? Okay, yeah. Okay. I'll have them transition to a barbell squat, so then they have that understanding and that muscle connection in their core and all those proper areas in the front before they throw that bar on their back, and
And it's not to say, I mean, every now and then I'll throw in a front squat, which is weird because you and I, we even front squat different. You take the more bodybuilder kind of cross approach, or you'll even do it with the straps. Yeah.
I think, yeah. So the straps, I think it came down to me doing it like that because at that point I didn't know any better. That's A. And then B, with the straps, I feel more secure, but I feel it is a bit more of an optimal positioning too, just having my elbows a little higher. But I lacked the mobility within my lat, and my serratus, I think, is really tight, and I think that's why I'm not able to stay as high up as my elbows as I can, like just doing it like this. It is awkward, so it's just something I got to work on. But that's a pretty typical thing that a lot of Olympic lifters will do, that they need to do when they're doing that clean and jerk.
Yeah, I've always liked doing like the actual like front rack position for the squat, for the front squat. If I train front squat, I'm gonna train it that
still
very strict Olympic style.
Oh man, it just like boggles my mind. I mean, I know it's just resting on the delts. I think like I'm just trying to imagine like 300-something pounds like on my delts and just trying to hold that in place with just like 2 fingers or whatever. But it's not your fingers that's really holding it. It's like that front shelf that you're creating. So
exactly. It's just like for me, I imagine it's like, okay, it's gonna be on my literal shoulders.
Yeah.
Is it gonna hit? Oh my God!
Bless.
I tap out. Like, is it gonna be choking me a little bit? Yes. Like, as long as if I can breathe, I'm good, right? So whatever. But yeah. So
that's
why squat every now and then.
That's why I want to bring up the Zercher squat, because I feel
Zercher squats. My God.
But I'm like, if you don't want to be choked out, but you want like fucking bruises in your elbows, I guess that's
a Zercher squat is just a deadlift. I don't even want to call a Zercher squat a squat. A Zercher squat is just a weird deadlift.
But you're saying, because you're picking up from the ground, like the way we were doing it that one time. But if you started at the rack and then you just like hug in and then just do the squat. But if you start from the ground, I would argue that's like a deadlift and then into a squat, because you are literally lifting weight from the ground.
I don't know how I feel about Zercher squats.
It is a squat though.
Every now and then, we did do it a couple of times.
Yeah.
I don't see the benefit of a Zercher over something like a front squat or even a goblet squat or something like that. I really just do not see the benefit of Zerchers.
It mimics the goblet squat. Like I would put it in the same category as a goblet squat, but the weight is a little lower. So I feel there's a lot more core activation because of the positioning of that bar is kind of like mid-torso. So it's definitely a lot of core, especially when you start coming up. So it forces you to be really upright.
Yeah, but if you're worried about like core engagement on a squat, then overhead squat.
Yeah, and that's something I was kind of doing just with the bar, just trying to feel a bar over my head and then going down in a squat for just practicing that mobility and that range of motion. Something I want to try out.
And that is another thing, like that's another variation of a squat where you need good mobility in other parts of your body, like your shoulder mobility.
You need extra rotation like a motherfucker.
I mean, to keep that bar in line with your foot, like your arms need to be like way back.
Yeah, I mean you're even like rotating the wrist out a little bit. Like you have to kind of turn that bar out, and you're pretty wide, and you're rotating your shoulders out, and you're trying to stay like that. So you need that scapular mobility for sure. Like if you don't have that T-spine part of your spine mobile, then it's gonna be a really hard thing to do. It's gonna be uncomfortable.
But let's be, unless you're training the snatch, I don't think there is any good reason to do an overhead squat. Unless you're training for a snatch, I really don't think it's useful. It's kind of like my opinion with low bar. You do low bar for two reasons. One, you're trying to limit your range of motion because you're powerlifting, or two, it's your optimal way of squatting because you lack mobility in your ankle or some other reason like that, right? I don't see any benefit to low bar squatting over high bar squatting for the normal person if you're just training for health or something.
Right. Yep.
And I also don't see any benefit to training the overhead squat unless you're specifically training for snatches.
I would say as a rehab for the shoulder, for your rotators, I think, because they like a lot of physical therapists will use a Turkish get-up in some capacity, which I feel is kind of like an overhead, but you have that single arm, and there's a bit more mobility, as you're coming up within that shoulder, so there's that compression that you need in that shoulder area.
Well, I think the point of a Turkish get-up is literally because you do have to stabilize it, right? So whereas that's not exactly true of an overhead squat, because it's literally only one range of motion, right? You're locked in.
True.
So it's not, I wouldn't even say it's useful for.
I take that back.
Yeah,
there's a bit more rotation. Oh shit. When you're doing a Turkish get-up, there's a lot more going on within that shoulder girdle than the overhead squat. So I would say it's almost exclusive to Olympic weightlifters, or if you're just trying to switch it up and you've been lifting for a while and you just want to try something new, like a veteran lifter, that's definitely an advanced squat. That's not something that, a normie or a person who's just trying to be healthy really needs to do. So.
I tried learning it, man. I think the heaviest I've ever tried is like 135.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
overhead.
Just for shits. And it's just not. I've been doing this for years. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So, still on the how. I mentioned that. What?
Debate time.
About
how?
I mean, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see if there's a debate. I don't know, but it starts at the foot, the squat. I would say that any lower body movement, specific leg movements, are gonna start at the foot, because if you have an unstable foot, then you're gonna have an overall unstable squat. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree completely. Yeah. No issue. It's like building a bridge without a good support structure, or building a house without a good foundation. Like it does all start there, and that's why those cues are so important. Like grip the floor.
Yeah.
Turn out. Like think about turning your toes outwards. Like gripping the floor. Like that's why those cues are so important. And like anytime I train or I teach the squat, I start with those, right? Actually getting those hips to open.
Right.
Starts with gripping the floor and twisting your toes out.
So, I mean, just to go further into detail, what does that make your foot do? Essentially, is you're distributing all the weight in the 3 points on your foot, which is going to be on that big toe, your fifth toe, and your heel. So you have this tripod now. So ideally, when you're squatting, you should have all your weight in those 3 points on your foot. It's not in the toes themselves, but where they attach at the face of your foot. So as long as you got all that stability, so that's under the assumption there's nothing with your tibia or anything with your ankle or anything like that. And that's where, you know, when people are squatting, what I'll notice sometimes, you know, when they squat, their feet might start to roll out a little bit to the side or inward, you know, so that could be a few issues as far, it could be ankles, it could be the tibia or the calves or something in that region, which then could also lead to like knee pain, right? So that's another thing, like people who say they avoid squatting because I have bad knees or whatever. Well, why do you have bad knees, right? So glutes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, that's another conversation.
Yeah, if you're squatting and your knees are hurting, and you're not squatting super heavy. I mean, if you're squatting 600 pounds or more, it makes sense that your knees are a little sore.
Yeah.
Almost never get knee pain from squatting. Like, I get more knee pain from sitting than I do squatting.
Yeah. And so this is where the debate might come. I think you would still agree. Is that if somebody doesn't have any imbalance, then yeah, obviously just squat at that point. I think there's minimal things that person would really need to do as far as like single leg exercises. But why I'm such a fan of single leg exercises, single leg versions of squats, Bulgarian split squats, is because if somebody does have an imbalance, like and it's evident, it's obvious, then there's no way to correct that by continuing to do a double-legged squat, because you're just going to keep, you know, that other leg that's already stronger or whatever is going to just keep getting stronger.
Yeah.
And the other leg is just going to keep lagging behind. So I feel like that in a certain program, depending on the individual, you need those single leg exercises.
I mean, I'll agree with you to an extent, right? In terms of like, what is my favorite accessory work for a squat? It's gonna be a single leg press. I'm a huge fan of single leg press. I am not a fan of lunges. I am not a fan of Bulgarian split squats. I hate them. I don't do them.
And this is
I'm a huge fan of a single leg press, especially if I'm trying to build strength or fix any imbalances in my legs individually.
And I would say that's where I would disagree, because within a leg press, you're not engaging as much in the hip itself. There's not enough hip hinge in a leg press, a single leg press, or any leg press for that matter. So that's why people who load up leg presses and they brag about it, it don't matter. You get under that bar, right? But when you do a squat, there's a hinge at the hip. So in order for you to correct the imbalance on the side that is necessarily weak, you have to look at that side of your hip as well as, you know, the strength of the muscles themselves. But if there's an issue with that side of your hip, it needs to be corrected with some sort of a hinge, or, you know, whatever exercise that might be, depending what the issue is, right? So that's why I would say a Bulgarian split squat or something that is a single leg squat is a better alternative to like a leg press, because like for instance like a toe touch, which is a precursor to doing like a pistol squat, is important, because that'll teach you how to hinge properly on that side that is not working correctly. So that's something I was using for a while, and now I'm able to, you know, squat 255 without any issue, without my knees caving in, right? So it's a big thing that I would say is necessary to correct like a hip imbalance, right?
I mean, I guess here's where we are. You're definitely looking at it more from like a movement pattern sort of thing, whereas I'm looking at it as like a weight distribution sort of thing. So I don't really have any specific hip imbalances, so it sort of makes sense, like in my head when I'm thinking about, okay, squat, accessory movement, make legs stronger, how to make both legs equally strong, make for big leg press.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Single leg press sort of thing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So here is one of the debates that's very common in the, especially in powerlifting. When you squat, do you break at the knees first, at the hips first, or do you break at the hips and the knees at the same time?
Yeah, I think this definitely feels like
Yeah, I mean, are you asking me this question, or are you? Is
Well, there are. The thing about this, like when you really dip into the minutia, like here's the thing: the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, right? They seem like simple movements, and they are simple movements. But then when you dig into like the professionals who are trying to optimize and all of that. Holy shit, suddenly it becomes like you can write a book on why one way is better than another. And like there is a huge debate even today over do you break at the knees, do you break at the hips, or do you break at both simultaneously?
I would say both. Well, I mean, just even like going back to just the barbell squat. I mean, we say it's a simple movement, but it is so complex, really. I mean, like you got that bar on your back, and that bar needs to be traveling in a pretty straight line that's going through, and it's about mid-foot is where that bar should be traveling. So if you start leaning forward, you know, you're gonna lose a lot of that stability. And so like there's so many little moving parts. Like it has to be perfect, especially if you're lifting like heavy weight, you know, or as perfect as it can get, right? Because you know there's grinders and stuff like that. But if you want to like really just have like that perfect technique, you know, that's why doing the single leg stuff, you know, especially if even if it's like a small little thing, like I'll notice even like a little bit of a tweak, like where that person could probably do it a little better. Like it looks good, but it could be better. You know what I mean? And why wouldn't you want to optimize on your squat or whatever you're doing?
Right. And one of the, I guess, one of the challenges of squatting is it's very easy to make a squat look pretty when the weight is light, you know?
Sure.
More recently, what I did was I did that super long, like 225-pound pause squat, which that's not a heavy weight, right? That's way below where I can squat, but to hold it in a really deep position and then get yourself up from that, like it really pointed out like, oh, okay, I see. So here's what happened when I tried to do that. You know, out of the hole, I'm really good. There's this weird transition from when you go out of the hole to like almost midway up the squat. That seems to be my weak point. It's a very weird place to have a weak point. But I was sitting there looking, I don't know how to fix that, and it was the weirdest thing, where I'm good out of the hole on squat, I'm really good at lockout, and then there's this weird part in the middle where I seem to
where there's most tension, because I mean, like what a pause squat, and this was actually something I was doing like 2 leg days ago, was pause squatting, and doing that pause squat forces you to really think about what you're doing at that bottom part of your squat, because it's very easy to, you know, drop and then try to come up, like, all right, boom, and then like a slingshot try to come up, right, from the hole, right? But the second you pause there for even like an extra second or two, especially even just a second, really.
I post for the alphabet.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, then what do you have to do? What happens? Sometimes, you know, the person's knees might cave in more because now you have to really crank those knees out even more so because you're in this super tense position. And you know, it's just different. It's a different technique. It's not so like if somebody's not used to doing a pause squat, I feel it's just because it's such a tense position versus just kind of dropping into it. It's forcing you to use different fibers. You know, it's just a part of a squat that, you know, somebody might not be necessarily used to. But I feel like it's a good thing to do, because if you get really good at like a pause squat, I feel like just going through the squat itself, you get overall stronger too. You know? As far as barbell squats are concerned.
So this time around, Yoav is going to go for that switch, but you know, you are at less risk of taking a lot of damage. Once again, though, Alejandro can make a big read here. You go for the overheat into the Grimstar as the switch happens, and just chunk away Grotto before a Dynamax. That could be absolutely huge. Let's see if Alejandro
I'm trying to see.
Did your knees cave?
Yeah, did my knees cave in? Because
Definitely gonna
no,
be
there's no way
a
my knees
turn.
caved in.
I mean, it doesn't have to be obnoxious.
To
You get
just swap out the land rest though back into
Oh, well,
the
whatever.
A lot of times in like heavier squats, I feel like a lot of people
keep
will
the
have a
grotom
slight,
safe going into
like I'll see a lot of like
the room
Olympic
afterwards
weightlifters
here.
that'll drop into like a, you know, a front squat or whatever. And there's like this is just a slight, you know, it's not like an obnoxious, because it was an obnoxious,
Yeah.
you'd be falling over, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I do like the squat. Of course, I do favor the low bar squats, and I'm trying to think about what do I do to train them. Well, here's the interesting thing.
I mean, I feel like at this point, Alejandro is.
I've got my squat has gotten stronger without doing any of the accessory shit. Like, and that's something I pointed this out in the podcast before. I have gotten stronger on all my lifts by reducing the amount of extraneous bullshittery that you would usually do, right? I work out in the garage gym, and there's just much less equipment there, and I feel better, stronger, and I feel like more symmetrical right now than I've ever have, and it came down to just like limiting myself literally to just barbell and dumbbell training.
And I feel it's because it's so dynamic, because, you know, it's not like it's a black and white thing, like, you know, working with just barbells and stuff. I feel like, of course, that's gonna work. Like I have no doubt that if somebody is, you know, training just barbell stuff or just some dumbbell stuff or whatever, that they're inevitably going to get stronger in some capacity. Of course, I think that's I don't think it's just like, oh, you just hit a brick wall and then it's just like, yeah, sorry, you got to do some other shit or whatever. But they'll eventually break that hurdle, obviously, right? Because you felt like you were stuck for a little bit and then suddenly you're like, boom. So I mean, it's open-ended. I would say it's open-ended. I think it just comes down to, you know, think about whatever that goal is. Okay, I want to be strong. Then of course you gotta, you know, what do you want to be strong at? What does strength mean? Because I mean, strength is another thing, and that's, you know, debatable what that really means, right?
I'm sitting there thinking, like, if you want to get good at squatting, you squat more.
For sure, I think.
Like, and I think that, and I really think it is that simple. Even when I said before, like, my favorite accessory is the leg press. I haven't had a leg press, and this is the strongest my squat has ever been. And I'm really starting to think, you know, maybe it really is just that simple. Maybe we think too much and we overthink these and like, oh, hey, I should do my leg presses to work up my quads because I'm out of the hole, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Maybe it really is just as simple. If you want a good squat, squat more. Fuck all this other bullshittery. Don't worry about, like, trying to put different parts of the movement under a microscope. Which is very much the West Side method, right? West Side conjugate. Like, let's test just your lockout. Let's do this part of a squat. Let's do that part of a squat.
Yeah.
Let's do a squat with chains, a squat with bands, reverse banded squats, just to train every little, like, fraction piece of a squat to a certain point.
I think,
and that's successful. But then there's the other method of, like German volume, right? Just like, if you want to get good at the squat, just fucking squat. Don't overcomplicate it.
So I agree with that. That, like, as far as, like, putting the squat itself, like the barbell squat itself under a microscope, I think is a little tedious. And I think there's too much going on with that stuff. And like you said, yeah, like, just to get better at the squat, just do the squat, do the barbell squat. But like, the stuff that you can work on is the mobility stuff, the stuff within the squat, the moving parts that you're using on your body that you might need to fix, but you still got to squat.
But that's what I'm questioning. Does doing all that extra stuff to work on your mobility, does it actually help? Like, what? Like, just keep squatting.
I think it does.
Like if your knees are maybe they're caving in, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the thing to do is lower the weight and just focus more and keep squatting.
That's
and just
true.
don't do anything else. Like, oh, my knees are caving in, so I need to do some, like, those, well, what's it called? The Virgin Remover 5000 in the gym, where you're like, move your legs. Please tell me you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the adductor machine.
Yeah, the Virgin on prom night machine.
Right, yeah.
Like, no, just squat more. You don't need any of that stuff or this weird banded hip leg thing. No, just squat more often. Lower the weight, focus on the squat, and just squat more.
I would say
Everything else is just bullshittery.
I would disagree with that statement. Like on the nose, I would disagree with that because just from a trainer standpoint, some people just really lack, like just have severe imbalance. Like you're speaking from a lens of somebody who's experienced, and it's very simple to make that statement. But like looking at people day to day and seeing how shitty people have, like people could barely do a bodyweight squat, let alone a barbell squat, and a lot of it stems from lack of hip mobility, lack of glute activation, if any. Right, they got really weak glutes. And yeah, I mean that's a key role in the squat. So I feel like those things need to be understood before just squatting.
So you keep squatting. If you struggle to do a bodyweight squat, you keep doing a bodyweight squat, deeper, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
That progress is made.
For
You
sure.
know,
I
like,
mean,
you
I
just
agree.
keep-
I agree with that, but I wouldn't just squat. Like that would be part of the program. Like the squat, obviously, is still something that you would do every time, but it's still like, okay, well, we did the squats. We're not gonna squat for a whole hour because that makes no sense. Because you're just gonna.
Jesus Christ, why would you
burn
squat
out.
for an hour?
Are you saying it should be 2 hours?
Yes, yeah. I was totally going there like, only an hour? What kind of weird ass, like, what kind of... You
But-
squatted, like, an hour? I'm barely halfway in.
But like from program design and just pure just boredom too, even just doing that squat, I feel just from like a attention standpoint, a lot of people would get pretty bored just doing that, at least from my lens. Like that's just what I'm seeing, that's from my perspective when I'm talking about like different clients and their preferences and stuff like that. And again, very goal specific, because like everybody, okay, I want a big ass, great, like just an example. And yeah, I'll tell them, you got to squat. There has to be some kind of squat within your training program, whatever that might be, right? But I also want abs, okay? So we could do a bit more front squat stuff and on this specific amount of time, and then we do a barbell squat.
See, that's
Whatever.
that's where I would stop and then be like, you want abs? Great. Go to the kitchen, go
Right,
on a
exactly.
diet, 'cause
Yeah.
none of that matters at
Right.
all whatsoever.
Right, exactly. Of course, that's still a conversation, but
It's actually a fair point. It's all like, I come in, I go on Instagram and I watch the video of somebody doing like some weird pull-up variation, and I'm like, I haven't trained pull-ups. No, what's it called? Yeah, crunch.
Crunch,
whatever.
ab crunch, yeah.
I haven't trained an ab crunch in I don't know in how long. I haven't trained abs in ever, and I just show up. I put the bench at the deepest incline it can get, and that's a pretty fucking deep incline on the crappy ass bench we get.
like overarch,
Yeah.
so we get our backs on that fucking thing.
And I do it no problem. And I'm like, if you want a strong core, you squat. You don't do any, like, you squat, you
core-
deadlift, and that's how you get a strong core.
Core
And if you want
rigidness.
abs, then just go on a diet.
Go on a diet, but I would say like for that person who's just purely aesthetics, like I'm saying, they just want to
Go on a diet!
Yeah, but even if that person got really lean, if they had really small abdominal muscles, I'm talking
Then
like,
squat more!
No, I mean like yes, you can do that. That's part of that, but you can still directly cause hypertrophy to those abs by
Yes,
doing
then
crunches.
deadlift more.
Or no, I mean like you would treat it like a bicep curl. at that
It's a
point.
crunch!
Oh, do a weighted
The
crunch. I would
downside
say
of a deadlift.
do a
that's-
weighted crunch.
A weighted crunch, why?
Well, like again, like we're saying why, but if it's like a person who's like, I just want really blocky abs, okay, do weighted crunches. Then.
Have you seen half these fucking strongmen that do all the carry events, like the front carry and all
fucking
that?
crazy
All of them,
loaded ass
they're
abs.
fat as shit, and they still have abs pumping out. They're 450 pounds. They got a gut that
like
literally
you're doing a
bends over like mine,
consistent
and
crunch.
it's still abs. Like
Well,
if
think
you
about-
want abs, you squat and you deadlift. If you want them to show up, you go on a diet.
I would say, well, you brought up strongman. I would say like carry shit. I would say that's probably your go-to because like
Yes.
I think
You
for
won't trip your groceries.
yeah, I mean like I think the ab thing for those guys is from all the carries they do, the big stones and all that stuff. I think because it's literally like your arms are like this and you're moving your legs, so there's like a consistent just like tension in that area. So I mean it's like that's how you get abs.
Yeah, I training abs is stupid. You don't do it. You don't do crunches. You don't do leg pull-up. None of that. No.
Well, it doesn't,
just
like, in your
sit
sport, it
there
doesn't
and
translate to it. It doesn't make sense for you to
but
do it.
even then, you just, like, why?
Yeah,
Just
this time it's interesting.
I just
train
explained why.
something.
Like, you're right. Like,
But I don't
overall,
even think that would
core
I don't think that even-
function, core function,
Just to keep you upright.
and rigidness. Yeah, squat, deadlift, all those big movements that require rigidness. Planks, isometrics, like doing side planks, McGill Big Three, doing a
think those
bird
are
dog.
useful. I don't think those. Will they make you sore? Yes. Will they make you feel like you've worked your abs? Yes. But I don't think they're actually doing anything. Like, I bet if I were to take a handful of people and I were to measure, I mean, like, put them through a fucking MRI and get, like, to the gram their muscle density in the abdomen, I think if you were to put someone on, like, a routine that is very versatile, that includes crunches and all of that shit, and somebody who is just, like, a pure regular trainer, does, like, squat, deadlift, you know, whatever, and at the end of the day, you test which core is stronger, I don't think you're gonna get a shit of a difference.
Well, I'm saying, the exercises I mentioned are for rigidness, so like isometrics, just like what you would expect.
Then squats!
Well, I'm saying, well, no, okay, well, again, bring up Grandma Josephine again, right? You're not going to get her core as rigid.
It's an episode about squats. Who gives a fuck about Grandma Josephina?
But
Grandma
I mean,
you just said Grandma Josephina had a fucking knee replacement. She can't squat to begin with, all right?
well, I'm saying, like, we're currently talking about core. How do you engage your core? So
It's
how
an
does
episode
that,
about squats. Who gives a fuck about the
okay,
core? We could do a separate episode about
you're
the
making
core.
that point. I'm explaining to
I'm
you.
just saying that the squat is decent for the. I think.
Yes. But you're-
squats solve all problems.
Well, the point you were making specifically was that there's no point to doing all those other things. And I'm making the point that doing isometrics, so consistent tension within the abdominal region, is, or to understand that core rigidness for a person that cannot do a barbell squat, those exercises can help.
Then get them. Then keep squatting until you can.
All right.
It's not like your core is not engaged when you're doing a bodyweight squat.
That's true. And it is, but like I feel like it still takes some kind of like mental, because people can just drop into a squat and not necessarily being rigid in their core, and you won't really tell, you know, because you're not really going to collapse that much because it is a bodyweight squat. But you know,
then you keep doing that and you keep adding more weight, and that builds the core, it builds the rigidness, the structure, all of it.
Yeah, I mean,
stability.
In the end, yeah, sure. Like the squat, of course, is going to do all those things.
And everything else is just unnecessary bullshittery.
And I would disagree. But
I would disagree.
I guess we'll leave it at that. Let's see.
I still haven't. I'm still not over the fact that a Bulgarian split squat is a lunge and not a squat.
It is.
It's not a squat.
It is, because you're in a static position. Your leg's not really going in front of the other one. It's not a bipedal movement. It's a squat.
It's a fucking lunge. It's not a squat.
A
squat is two legs moving symmetrically.
And what do you think is happening? Your back foot is bending at the
How
same time
the
that
fuck?
the other fucking leg is bending.
How the fuck is that? Do you know what the word symmetry means?
They're moving. They're literally moving at the same time. Just because you're not next to each other,
in the same way at the same time.
Just because your legs are not next to each other does not mean they're not moving at the same time.
No. A squat is two legs moving in the same way at the same time.
They are two legs,
but
moving
they're
at the same
not
time.
moving in the same way. Are you gonna fucking tell me that this leg going like that and this leg going like this is the same thing?
Well, first of all, that's not the fucking Bulgarian split squat.
Don't fucking tell. I'm exaggerating the point.
Well,
I'm exaggerating.
Well, I ain't
movement to make the
exaggerating.
point.
I'm gonna correct that shit.
Why exaggerate? Because you're telling me that this is a squat and not a lunge. This is a lunge. This is a lunge.
Well, if you're doing
I'm
that shit,
lunging.
you're doing it wrong.
I'm not doing.
If somebody's literally dipping like that, you should be in an upright
I'm
position.
not dipping.
Whatever. All right.
It's a fucking lunge, not a squat.
What? So
Still not over there yet.
I know that's fine, because we're gonna get into types of squats again. Well, we mentioned them earlier.
Yes.
What about like equipment? as far as like, okay, well, of course we rode the barbell to the ground, but do you like?
Everybody should be squatting with knee sleeves. I don't care if you have knee pain. I don't care if you don't have knee pain. I don't care if you're high bar, low bar, overhead, front squat, goblet. I don't give a fuck. Everybody and their mom should be squatting with knee sleeves.
Why?
Because it's safety, it's stability, it's preventative of injury. It helps keep your knees lubricated and warmer. I think everybody should be squatting with sleeves. They don't need to be competition tight. I don't mean like you have the knee that's large so you buy medium to get an extra fucking 10 pounds out of the lift. No. I'm saying everybody should be squatting with knee sleeves. They don't need to be like the super thick neoprene, like just slightly support. I think everybody should be squatting with knee sleeves. Everybody.
I think if
always and forever.
I think if you have good mobility and balance within your hips, your ankles, your knees, and you have good core stability, I don't think there's a necessity for it.
No, I'm not saying they're necessary. I agree. They're not necessary.
Yeah.
You do not need sleeves to squat. You can be safe and everything with them. What I'm saying is that everybody should be squatting wearing sleeves.
I see.
I think it's just one of those things that you just should be doing. It's like you should not be deadlifting heavy without a belt. Can you? Of course you can.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, like
it's like riding a bike without a helmet.
Yeah.
If you're doing everything fine, great, but it's just something you should be doing. I think everybody should own a pair of sleeves and squat in them. It doesn't mean you do everything in sleeves. It doesn't mean you leg press in sleeves. It doesn't mean you do it. It just means that I think everybody absolutely should be squatting with sleeves.
Well, here's my argument for that. I mean, do you go through life with a knee sleeve on?
No.
Are you walking with a knee sleeve?
No, of course not.
Yeah. So I mean, my argument is, then I mean, you might as well train in a way that would be more mimicking your
but it's
day-to-day
not.
kind of.
How many times in my day-to-day life does somebody say, "Oh my God, you need to squat right now"?
Well, you're moving your hips, you're bending your knees. It's not like you.
No, but it's just like no. I'm just saying you should
picking
be
shit
okay.
up.
So you wear a helmet when you bike. Oh, maybe what you should be doing is training for your everyday life. So maybe you shouldn't be biking with the helmet. Like no.
Yeah.
No. Everybody should be squatting with sleeves.
But biking is a different like a squat is something as a human being, like we don't just like sit there and do this is not just something we just do, but you know, a hinge at the hips is something we do. We bend our knees, we do all these things.
Yes.
So I don't think that
yes, but how often do we walk with 400 pounds on our back? Everybody should be squatting with sleeves.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, does a person who's just squatting that's not necessarily going to try to like rep out heavy weight?
Yes, they should be wearing sleeves too. Yes.
Oh, well, I would say no. But I would say people who are more in that powerlifting realm, Olympic weightlifting realm, and they're being safe about lifting really heavy weight, that person.
I think everybody should be squatting with sleeves. Everybody, all the time, always, no matter what, through warm-ups.
There's always going to be an exception, though. I don't believe that's an absolute, or it should be an absolute.
I think everybody should be squatting with sleeves. I think the world would be a better place if everybody squatted with sleeves.
I know.
The fact that you do not own a pair of sleeves bothers me.
That's fine. I mean, I'm
gonna smack you on the upside of the head.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm always thinking within the general realm, just because that's who I deal with. And even with myself, I'm like, okay, well, if I got good balance, or if I'm not always squatting 85-90% of my max like 5 days in a week or whatever to require me wearing knee sleeves, then there's no reason for me to injure myself.
Even when I'm squatting high bar and I'm squatting fractions of what I usually squat and I'm going for reps, I'm still wearing my sleeves.
Yeah, but I mean, you say fractions or whatever, but you're still within 85% of what you could probably, lift for a 1 rep max, and that's still a pretty heavy load. So I would say for that person, yeah, sure, wear those knee sleeves, because that's like not light.
Up, even when I'm front squatting for shits.
Warm up, yeah. I mean,
I'm wearing knee sleeves.
Yeah.
I think everybody should wear knee sleeves all the time, always. Like, I think you should be benching in knee sleeves.
Put your fucking knee sleeves on your elbows, all right? Yeah, that's what you gotta do.
I actually think that some strongmen before they started like custom ordering, I think they actually do wear knee sleeves.
Hell yeah. I mean, hey, you need some kind of compression in your elbow, man. Fuck it.
Dear God, I bet if fucking Brian Shaw came here and like measured his elbow with your knee, it would be like.
Well, Brian Shaw.
I think his arms are bigger
7
than
feet
I
tall.
think his arms are bigger than my legs.
He's just a genetic freak.
Yes.
Uh,
And you know what? He squats with sleeves.
Of course he does. You see how much weight this motherfucker's lifting? Of course that makes sense. Like you need, like if you're lifting obscene amounts of weight for maybe 3 reps or 5 or whatever, like you need that kind of protection because it's just a consistent battering of your body.
It's not even a battering. It's just like
a battering.
Wearing them. Other than that, tools. If you want to be safe pushing heavyweight, a belt is probably a good idea. I'd argue that you're better. I'd argue that sleeves are more important than a belt.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say. Yeah. I would say.
But you own a belt and you don't own sleeves.
I guess
Go on Amazon, go on howmuchyabench.net, go
Get
to
some strong-
Slingshot, get yourself some fucking sleeves from
STs.
Mr. Mark Bell.
He makes nice products. I use his
He
hip
makes
circle.
damn good products. Go get yourself some sleeves.
Those
Some-
hip circles are great.
It doesn't need to be the power sleeves. Like it could be like the ones they brand for CrossFit that are just there for
like
warmth and shit.
Yeah.
Get yourself some sleeves. Everybody should have
Just
some.
compress that shit. Did we cover favorite squats?
My favorite squat is a moderately wide stance. So I'm not sumo squatting, but a wide stance low bar squat. To me is La Parfait, the king, the most lit,
What do you
illuminated
think?
squat.
What do you think of the belt squat? The pitch shark or whatever the hell you want to
That's a
call it.
deadlift.
Yeah.
That's a deadlift. That's not a squat. That's a deadlift.
Yeah, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Belts around your waist, and then you stand. I mean, the load is at the hips because it's like that shit's like hanging. First of all, that shit's uncomfortable for me. I'm like that shit's like pulling, tugging.
Well, that's
on my
because
body.
your tiny ass can't support the belt.
Yeah,
How about you
my
squat
fucking-
more and then
my
maybe your
fucking
belt
pelvis
squat could
is
work?
Just I'm just like bruising hardcore when I use it. Yeah, I'm definitely a pussy when it comes to that. That shit hurts.
It's a simple thing. Just get yourself a barbell. Fuck, you don't even really need a rack now, do you?
No.
And then sleeves. Just sleeves and a barbell. You're good.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate it. Stop fucking overcomplicating lifts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with simplicity. I think simplicity is good. I think explaining and just keeping it very simple for the normal person who's trying to be fit and trying to exercise. There's no need to complicate. And I would even say, even on the professional level, like it comes down to some pretty basic ideas, premises. Like you don't have to be, I got 1 RM reps in reserve, RIR in the tank, and okay, I gotta write that down and be super calculating meticulous. Who gives a shit? Like that's the shit that I'm like, okay, just. Do a hard set. You know what that feels like, all right? Like 2, 3, 4 reps in reserve. Just lift the damn weight. Go hard on that last set or whatever, and then or like if you're trying to be strength athlete, load the bar up. Okay, do 3, 5. How's that feel? Just bang out.
In the words of my first trainer ever, when my mom got me a gym membership in like fucking high school, Big D. Shout out Big D.
Big D.
I don't actually know what your name is or where you are anymore or what your actual real name. I think it might have been like Demetrius or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Big D. In the words of Big D, you push it up.
You push it up. I mean, like, honestly, sometimes it is that fucking simple. Why overcomplicate shit? You push it up. I think it's a good place to end.
Push it up.
Yeah.
Go up.
Should we just like sniff into the mic as an ender?
Having that opportunity after the match to really like sit and reflect on it, going back towards his match.
I don't know if you usually go on rants and shit, because I think that covers squats right now.
Because a fucking squat, a split squat is a lunge, not a squat. That's no. No, it's
I'm like,
a
I'm not even
fucking
sure to end.
squat. It's not. No.
Fuck
What
it,
are
we
you
got.
talking
We're
about?
just talking another half hour about split
That's
squats.
not.
versus-
It's a lunge. It's a fucking. They're not useful. I don't think they do anything important whatsoever.